Hello, hope you're doing well. Hope you're taking good care of yourself.
So I want to start off by saying that I had no original plans to talk about this movie or make any sort of video review about this movie. It's pretty funny because I actually just found out about this movie's existence like a few weeks ago prior to this upload. I was at the theater for Civil War a few weeks back. So of course it was an A24 studio movie. It was showing a bunch of previews for a bunch of other A24 movies.
And this one in particular stood out to me the most. The concept, visuals, and music just really intrigued me. More intrigued than anything else that is scheduled to come out the rest of the year, actually.
I guess it's a good time to whore my Letterboxd reviews. For those that are curious, I do a lot of written reviews for movies that I don't have time to make a video review for. So please go check it out.
I don't know if you can already tell by the sound and tone of my voice, but I am utterly exhausted. This month is absolutely jam-packed with a bunch of movies that I would love to do a video review on.
I believe there's 5 that I would love to make a video review on. Maybe I'll spend the next like 2 to 3 months catching up. We'll see.
Good luck to me, seriously, good luck. So you could say it has to be something truly special for me to warrant postponing all my other reviews in favor of doing this one first.
For any new viewers to the channel, welcome. So if you go back and look at the track record of all the movie reviews that we've done so far, a good chunk of them have been big blockbuster releases.
As fun as these videos are to make, sometimes it can be easy to forget that I started this channel as not just a form of entertainment for you all, but also a place to learn about new movie titles, ones that you wouldn't have ever heard about before, nor would you have ever thought about seeing before unless your favorite YouTube movie person recommended it to you.
I love movies so much that I always like to take the good, the bad, and the questionable out of every single one I see and remember them for any future movies that I would love to make for myself. No matter how a movie turns out, whether it's the most pretentious or dog shit thing you've ever seen,
I'll always want to commend the filmmakers for at least trying to do something under the circumstances they were given. And I feel no other current studio displays that more than A24.
So at this point, A24 seems to be going mainstream, which is fine. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. No, I'm not going to gatekeep A24. I think it's terrific that their movies are getting way more attention these days.
I've been an avid watcher of A24 films since the mid-2010s, and I don't mean to sound all melodramatic when I say this, but I discovered them at quite the perfect time in my life.
I was in the middle of high school. I believe it was sophomore year, transitioning into junior year, where I was just completely lost and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life during high school, nor did I have any goals or ambitions for after high school.
Then a silly little flick about a farting corpse taught me what movies can really be. It showed me that movies can be more than just visual entertainment.
They can really touch you in all the right places
and make you feel heard and less alone in this scary world. I owe a good chunk of my choice of career and passion in filmmaking to A24 because they have been prioritizing unique approaches to visual storytelling above anything else. No matter how experimental or strange as they can be,
even I can admit that some of them can be a bit much.
Each one feels like it's a direct creation from the weirdos that actually made it.
It doesn't feel like it came churned out of an algorithm machine to boost ticket sales or regurgitate the same stories that you've seen told over and over again.
They feel like an actual product of love from the filmmakers that were given the opportunity to tell a story that they really did want to tell,
not just because they were hired to do a job.
To me, they capture the very essence of the human experience.
And this little flick right here reminded me of that all over again.
This is going to be structured a little bit different than my usual movie reviews. I mostly have given the rundown of the plot for each movie and then delve into the aspects I liked and didn't like. Usually I get into spoiler territory to really get into my perception of what I think the movie was trying to say and just what the whole point of the movie was.
But this time we're going to be doing something a little bit different.
This time I'm here to just simply encourage you to go out and see this movie as soon as you can. I usually would make a research paper length script containing info about the movie and I would let you, the viewer, decide if it's something that sounds interesting to you. But this time, am I begging at this point?
Fuck it. Self-respect is out the window.
Please go out and support this movie.
Alright, fine. I'll give a little bit of info just because I can't help myself. For those that saw the movie, you'll understand this sort of different approach of style here with this dual narrative that I'm going for.
But this is a rare occasion where I feel like the less you know about this movie, the better.
I saw the TV glow. 2 outcast teenagers bond over their favorite supernatural TV show, but upon growing up realized there was something more sinister surrounding surrounding it. So let's talk creepypastas. Those that are terminally online, I'm sure know what they are. I feel like even those that are casually online should know what they are also.
In case you don't spend that much time on the interwebs, I envy you, but I'll give a brief rundown. Creepypastas really began generating buzz in the past decade within internet culture.
They are horror-related legends or folk tales that have been shared across the internet and originated from the web.
Think of like campfire horror stories you would share with your friends, only these ones you don't know the exact origin of it. There's been so many these past few years, some of them garnering worldwide fame, and I believe some even got their own movie or television shows.
The ones that I could remember at the top of my head would be Slender Man, Ben Drowned, Jeff the Killer, The Rake, The Russian Sleep Experiment.
Those are about the ones I could remember at the top of my head that were gaining popular when I was growing up.
Spirits, monsters, killers, anything is fair game as long as it just scares the crap out of people reading it.
So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there was a whole discussion around this movie on how it was loosely based or inspired by a creepypasta. Candle Cove, I believe, is the name of the creepypasta that people were saying it reminded them a lot of.
I don't know, I've never read it, but I'll put the whole link below if you're curious about reading it.
The director has come out and said that they weren't actually basing this movie off of that creepypasta. I guess it was just a spooky coincidence. Either way, the similarities are there, and this movie tackles what I feel are very relatable topics and themes that I feel like a lot of people my age and even older will understand more than any other demographic. Jane, the director, stated that their biggest influence in making this movie was their obsession with television series and also the idea of self-identity and escapism. I think this movie captures perhaps the biggest sense of nostalgia that I've ever felt watching a movie before. It just nailed what it was like growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, with all the trippy visuals and especially the soundtrack.
All the big obvious things that came with growing up during that era. School environments, ranging from elections held where your parent would just force you to come with them and you'd be bored out of your mind and wouldn't care what the hell is going on. Just staying late after school and seeing that one kid whose parents would never bother to pick them up at a decent time and would just let them stay late for some reason. Those big parachutes you played with in the school gym when you were in elementary school. Cheap carnivals, arcades, sleepovers, sneaking out, journals you would just scribble random stuff in, weekly scheduled network television programs, VHS tapes, indie bands performing in low-budget theaters. That bizarre desire to frighten ourselves by watching stuff that we know we shouldn't be watching, and making new friends in some of the most bizarre circumstances that you would have never thought possible.
All of these are no-brainers to tackle when making a coming-of-age movie, but it also nails all the very small things that I think everyone goes through, but they don't really talk about it all that much.
Good old insecurity, eating lunch by yourself, social awkwardness, uncertainty of what you want out of life, undiagnosed mental conditions, a desire to want to distance ourselves from our parents, and a feeling of just not belonging anywhere.
All of these things that are discussed upon in the movie are so real and aren't glossed over for the sake of romanticizing them, like what most Hollywood coming-of-age movies have been like. So these are the aspects that could be advertised as the first draw to the movie, and if these elements don't sound all that interesting to you, I'm going to assume A,
you're currently in the midst of growing up and you don't want to deal with seeing the bullshit you're currently going through already. B, you never really cared about coming-of-age stories in general, and that's fine. Or C, you don't have a soul.
If you're someone like me that is transitioning out of the early stages of adulthood on paper, yet is still learning and getting accustomed to the hardships that come with adult responsibilities, I think this is the perfect movie for you to watch.
I don't know about y'all, but I think I'm starting to feel the effects of a certain pandemic, of an unknown virus from an unknown origin, and how I feel like it may have stunted all of our growth and just had us lose about 2 years of growing and developing we should have been having. I don't feel my age right now. I feel like I'm mentally 2 to 3 years younger than where I'm currently at right now.
So because of that, it's been easier lately to get into moments of self-doubt and just question our overall purpose in the world. And this is the next aspect of the movie that I want to touch on, and that is self-identity. So the director has been open about their voice in representing the LGBT plus community, and this movie being a vessel for that.
This is a special case because I feel like for the first time, at least to me, I feel like a movie of this category, they accomplish in telling a story that can be understood and heard by practically anyone, not just people from the LGBT plus community.
And to me, a story that can reach and touch multiple demographics than initially advertised should be given more attention. The supernatural elements to this fictional show in the movie called The Pinko Pick, it's a zone of comfort for these two main characters, and they find themselves coming back to it over and over again. Eventually, it becomes a form of coping mechanism for them.
Particularly Maddie, played by Bridgette Lundy-Paine, who did a fantastic performance, who states that this show feels more real to them than real life sometimes.
Eventually, she gets so engrossed in the television show, her perception of who she is starts to get warped. By the end, she no longer identifies herself as Maddie, as the human that she is in the tangible world, but instead a character from the other side, the side where the television show takes place, inside the television screen, as a character in the show, and that the real world is actually the television show. Now, if this concept came out 20 plus years ago, this idea would have instantly been seen as over-the-top fiction.
But in today's age, with the countless number of diehard fans and the number of IPs and brands that people are just obsessing and basing their entire existence off of, this honestly isn't a too far-fetched concept of an idea anymore. I feel like stuff like this probably happens on a more consistent basis than even they would like to admit.
Some people fall in love with a fictional world so much that they start denying who they really are in the real world.
Eventually, they start to pursue a life they would rather have than experience the life they were given.
And this is where the movie tackles the theme of escapism more than any other.
So from seeing the advertisement, you would see at first glance that the Pinko Peg is like a spoof of like Goosebumps. So those who grew up reading the books by R.L. Stein or even watching the show adaptation of the books, knowing those will give you a general idea of the tone the movie is setting. Group of teenagers stopping a monster of the week with supernatural powers. According to Jane, the main inspiration was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I never watched it, so I'm automatically just gonna make the comparison with Goosebumps.
The reason why I think it's significant, because now that I look back, it played a huge role in the introduction of the concept of horror to millions of children nationwide. At least it did to me. The horror elements took me by surprise. There was actually a lot more creepiness factor in this movie than I was expecting. I was not ready for what was shown on this twisted show.
It just nailed the uncanny valley of creature design, all of them used with practical effects that I think really pushed the PG-13 rating. I'm not going to spoil the creature designs here, you should just go out and see them for yourselves, but there is one particular character in this show.
His name is Mr. Melancholy. Holy shit, seeing a character like that growing up would have definitely traumatized me. It gave me a similar sinking sensation in my stomach that I got watching shows like Courage the Cowardly Dog that experimented with different forms of animation that were purposely done to look unsettling.
It gave me that same sinking feeling in my stomach I got when I was browsing the channels on TV when I was younger, and I stumbled upon a horror property that I definitely should not have been watching, and it just stuck with me and disturbed me.
It's such a unique type of fright, but at the same time, there's an odd comfort to it. It's just so hard to explain.
This is the character that Owen, the character that Justice Smith plays, gets into, who does a fantastic job also, and how the things we remember when we were younger are different after we've grown up.
Nostalgia is a powerful thing, but when it's a property that shaped your perception on a particular subject, that's when going back to it makes it all the more impactful. Is nostalgia going to make one's opinion biased?
Yes, and I'm tired of pretending it doesn't.
This is an absolute biased take, and I'm not ashamed to say it. It's okay to hold property at a higher position, as long as you don't allow it to cloud your judgment on new experiences. It brings joy, and those kind of things are priceless nowadays.
So everything I just discussed now are the elements that I took away from the movie personally. It doesn't mean that everyone who watches it are going to take away those things from the movie also. After I was done watching the movie with my friend, we got into a debate and discussion as to what we thought the movie was trying to say. And the amount of theories we were getting into was mind-boggling. On whether it was an advocate or an allegory for escaping reality, whether or not we let media consumption control our lives and determine how we end up, it just really starts to hurt my brain when I really get into it. And I feel like I'm not going to be able to do this movie's messages justice by just spieling it here. I feel like you just have to go experience it for yourself.
By the end, this movie just nailed the concept of growing up and questioning your life decisions that have led up to this very moment in time. How the things you grew up loving shape and mold you into the person you are today. To an extent, it only becomes a problem if you let it consume your entire being and let it solely define you. When you get lost chasing after an ideal but fictional life, that is when you miss out on living your actual life.
And eventually you realize it's too late and your entire life has already passed by. Like that.
Live it to the fullest.
To each person, that's a different definition. For some, it may be media consumption and escaping reality. And for others, it may be moving on from those things and always looking back on them fondly.
And hey, I'm not saying this movie didn't throw me off a little bit here and then. I think it walks the fine line between being artsy-fartsy or just being fartsy. I mean, after seeing Beau's Afraid last year, I feel like I'm prepared for anything at this point. And if this movie doesn't end up working or doing it for you, that's completely fine and okay. Because at least the filmmakers tried. They tried something different, and I will always commend them for that. I love this movie. This is definitely my favorite movie of the year so far, and I encourage all of you,
yes, even those that aren't even big fans of horror,
to give it a shot. 9 out of 10, most comforting yet unsettling nostalgia bomb I've ever seen.
Thank you for watching. As always, please like and subscribe for more videos like this, and let me know below if you've already seen the movie and what you thought it meant. Take it easy,
And remember to take care of yourself when you have to.
man, you know it's a special movie when you want to rewatch it with your friends while under the influence. I might just do that again.